Good evening, everybody. How's it going? Got a little good evening. It is Monday, March 27th. Probably not going to come out today, but I'm excited. Let's talk about some movies. So today, what I'm going to be doing while on your ride to the grocery store, maybe like I said the last couple of times, go pick up some meth. Hey, whatever you want to do, don't matter to me. I don't care. You want to, go pick up your kid because you haven't seen him in 4 days because you're a terrible parent? Sure, let's do that. Why not? Hey, so we're just hanging out here, okay? We're just hanging out. This is going to be a cool, calm, fun, very, very, very objective ranking of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. This is going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully, I can get through these in like 20 minutes. Hopefully, I have top 10. I have a couple honorable mentions. I'm going to talk about why I like these, why some are ranked higher than the others, but this is all of the movies of all time, and then the ones that I have seen and which ones are my favorite. So a lot of them go back to the 1980s. Some of them go up to like this year, or I don't think any of them go up to this year or last year. Yeah, last year. So whatever, I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. Sit back and relax and listen to me and my voice talk about movies. So we're going to have some fun today. So top 10 favorite movies of all time. I'm going to go by them one by one and just tell you about it. But before we get into that, I have two things for you. Go follow the Patreon, please, please, and go subscribe to my YouTube channels. Go listen to my other podcasts. Go answer the questions and whatnot underneath those podcast episodes, because those are, that gets a lot of fan interaction. Whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. Just like, comment, subscribe, have fun, whatever. Okay, so the second thing is honorable mentions. We're going to go through a couple honorable mentions. There's about 6 of them. So some of them that were so close. I love these movies, but just did not make the cut. Logan with Wolverine, Arrival, Denis Villeneuve with Jeremy Renner and Emily Blunt. Good Time with Robert Pattinson. Baby Driver, great movie. The Sandlot, my favorite summer movie, but just did not make the cut. And Infinity War by the Russo brothers, a Marvel movie. So I love these movies, but the reason that they didn't make the top 10 is because all my other 10 are just, I can rewatch them, learn something new, and I enjoy watching them. It's interesting because I learn something new, don't get me wrong, but every time I watch them, I learn something new and enjoy the things that I already knew about the movie. Everything that I understand and think and hear about the movies, like the direction, the acting, the plot, the script, the storyline of each movie. Every single one of these 10 movies hit me in such an emotional, physical, real way that I just love. And these 6 honorable mentions, honestly, the top 10, top 9 spot could be switched around depending on the day. But honestly, that's my honorable mentions. Some of them have to be left out, but yet they're honorable to mention. So number 10, starting off this fantastic list, number 10, we have Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I love Star Wars, and Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie. I think it's a great, fantastic movie. I think the acting is great. I think the storyline is great. Honestly, the special effects hold up very well too. You never get really bored, and somebody that doesn't really know Star Wars can just put it on and be immediately encapsulated by the opening one shot of Anakin and Obi-Wan flying through the Battle of Coruscant. I think that's great. It's fantastic. I love it. I love Revenge of the Sith. I love the very super long lightsaber fight that's very emotionally impactful between Anakin and Obi-Wan. I think it's really interesting how they contrasted the colors of their blue lightsaber going against the red of Mustafar, the planet that they fight on. It's very emotionally wrenching, heart-wrenching, and it's the first movie to ever make me cry because of Padme. And she died of a broken heart, which honestly sounds stupid, but I love it. I think it's goofy. I think it's fun. I think it's awesome. It's very dark and dramatic, and the lightsaber fights are the best of all of the series. Revenge of the Sith takes the number 10 spot. At number 9, we have not the only Denis Villeneuve movie on this, but we have Sicario. I love his direction in Arrival, Sicario, Prisoners. We'll get up to Blade Runner. I love Denis Villeneuve. He's my favorite director. And I think Sicario is a fantastic movie. And I think that, it has Emily Blunt as well. You see a woman going through this, trying to understand why is the United States at war? What is the United States at war? It's like a silent war between the DEA and the United States government versus the Mexican drug cartel. And who's involved, and why are they involved, and who do they just involve just because they were just in the way? The scene it's like literally studied in film classes. The scene at the border, where it's a perfect example of perfect tension, and you feel you could hear a pin drop because you're just so focused on the screen. I love that scene. I love the ending when Benicio del Toro's character goes through and kills everybody in the house. It's very real. It's very riveting, and it shows you. I think this is a fictional story, but it's based around something that's real. But I like the idea that this movie isn't so grounded, kind of like Narcos was, or something along those, something not like Breaking Bad, about drugs and money laundering and things of that nature, illegal things going on the U.S. border. It's interesting because this movie, Sicario, blends the line of action, adventure, and real serious crime drama. Because how it starts with Emily Blunt, and you see all these things happen to her, and it shifts over to the perspective of Benicio del Toro's character, and you as the audience didn't think it would get that far. Oh man, holy cow, we're here now with him, and now we understand what he's trying to get to. We understand why he's been here this whole time. Love the movie. Number 8, we have the only Martin Scorsese movie on this list is Wolf of Wall Street. Now, Wolf of Wall Street is probably Martin Scorsese's worst movie. I haven't seen all of them, but I already know it's his worst movie. I've seen Taxi Driver, and this was way better. Taxi Driver is way better than Wolf of Wall Street. However, I love Leonardo DiCaprio. He's one of my favorite actors. I think Ryan Gosling is my favorite actor, but Leonardo DiCaprio is up there. His performance in this is so goofy, but yet so raw. You can see on screen that Leonardo DiCaprio just had so much fun playing in this Jordan Belfort role. You just love him. You love watching him be this maniacal, almost evil, but yet charming, lovable guy that just is trying to get by with all his money and all of his riches and all of his mansions and all of his women. And you just almost start to root for him. Oh, and then he punches his wife. And you're like, oh man, I can't do this. You've made so many decisions that were bad for you and your company, and now you're reaping the repercussions of it. And it's this terrible fall from grace that you watch Jordan Belfort. It's a cool, nice autobiography. Not really autobiography. It's a what's the word? Biography? It's kind of like Bohemian Rhapsody or Elvis, but it's on screen for this New York stock broker. What's such an interesting concept to take this biography that Jordan Belfort, he's a real person, and he's actually the guy at the very end of the movie, and you get acted by Leonardo DiCaprio, and all of your best yet worst times in your life are exemplified on screen. Directed by Martin Scorsese. I think this is his worst edited movie. I think that's pretty easy to say, right? That this is the worst edited movie, and I understand that the tonal shifts kind of crazy, and I understand towards the end of the movie gets kind of long. This is almost like a 3-hour movie, but from the very opening scene, you're encapsulated by his storytelling and the visuals. It's just great. It's a great movie. It's not really a great movie. Well, I think it is a great movie, but Martin Scorsese has so many better movies, and Sicario and Revenge of the Sith are probably better movies, and my honorable mentions are probably better than Wolf of Wall Street. And it's like such an alpha male, college kid movie, but whatever. I love Wolf of Wall Street. Number 7, we have Inception. Christopher Nolan, Leonardo DiCaprio again, and tons of other people. For a long time in my life, since the first time I watched it, Inception was my favorite movie, and then I grew up. I love Inception. I love how great and grand scale it is. I love how the constant visuals and CGI and special effects are so cool. The idea of this whole world of these dream robbers get you to go to sleep, take and extract ideas and concepts and information from you in your dreams. I think Inception set up such a beautiful and amazing idea for an anime, but we're probably never going to get that. Or like a TV show or something like that. I think something like that would be really cool. But Inception is such a good movie, so heart-wrenching, so emotional at the core of it. You see Dom Cobb's destruction that he has made in his own life and the lives around him, but you can't help but just root for the guy, right? I love Inception. It's a great movie. It's one of the best movies of all time. However, the one thing that's holding me back, the one thing that I can't put even at the top 6, 5, or 4, or maybe in top 3 or number 1, why it moved down so much is that when I rewatched it, there's so much to know. The very character of Ariadne, literally, it's the audience's surrogate. And I hate that idea, that every little tiny thing is explained to her and then explained to the audience. And even at the climax of the movie, you're still explaining things. I referenced the scene when Leonardo DiCaprio's character is shooting people with the sniper on the snow fortress dream scale level or whatever, and Ariadne's like, aren't you shooting like parts of his mind? And Dom Cobb is like, no, I'm not shooting people, these are just projections. It's like, you're still explaining things. This is the climax of the movie and you're still explaining things, whether or not you try to do it subtly or not, and a high octane emotional crazy fast scene. Those kind of things still stick out to me. Like, I still know I still know that you're trying to explain things to me. I still know that you didn't explain this earlier, or that you did, and yet the audience in Stretch Ariadne needs a reminder. I just think that one little scene just takes it down so much, because I realized how much explaining this movie really does. But I love the world. I love the acting. Great characters. Fantastic visual storytelling, and a lot of imagination went into that movie, and I love it. Number 6, we have Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner from 1982. Fantastic movie. It basically started out a whole new sci-fi subgenre as cyberpunk. So cool. The world of Los Angeles in 2019, so run down, yet so drenched in neon. Every single frame of this movie is so detailed, so colorful. The one thing that I think I'm not too sold on is you can't really hear what the characters are saying. A lot of times you need subtitles, and yet a lot of times you need subtitles. And I would probably reference to like kind of the end of the movie, so kind of in the middle, when like you meet JF Sebastian and you're kind of going through that. And then it also has pacing issues, and these Blade Runner movies and Blade Runner stories are very slow, not very action-packed. And when the action is there, it's not the most kinetic thing in the world. I love Harrison Ford's performance. I'm just spitballing here about this movie that I feel so strongly about, because I love the idea of cyberpunk. I love Blade Runner in of itself. And, we'll get to the rest of the rankings. You'll understand why I love Blade Runner so much. But that's what kicked it off, right? This is what kicked off the whole Blade Runner franchise. And it's sad that, like, this one and the Blade Runner 2049 and other Blade Runner properties don't do very well in the public eye and at the box office. But I think that's such a crime because I love Blade Runner. I think it's such a great movie. It's such a nice, if it's a Friday or Saturday night, you're at your house, it's raining, it's pouring down rain, you still have power, and you just want to turn off the lights and watch a movie, watch Blade Runner. It'll put you to sleep. It'll interest you so much, but it'll put you to sleep. And I love it that way. I love it. Number 5, breaking into our number 5 spot, we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Great animation. It's the only animated movie on my list. And that just tells you how great this movie is. I love Miles Morales. I love Peter B. Parker. I love these characters. I love the story of Miles Morales trying to become Spider-Man, trying to pick up this mantle that he doesn't feel equipped to and still does it because he knows it's the right thing. Animation style, perfect. And even when all the other Spider-Men from the different dimension come in at the climax, they all have their different animation styles still put into the animation style of the movie. Fantastic movie. It has a lot of great action, has a lot of good emotional bits to it. Love Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Such a nice, cool, easy watch, honestly. It's very well structured, very well paced. Nice movie, and I love it. I love it so much. Number 4, we have Back to the Future. If you know me, you know I love Back to the Future. I love Back to the Future. I love the second Back to the Future as well. The third is okay. I think I've only seen it once. But the first Back to the Future, I've seen it countless times. I have tons of movie posters about Back to the Future. I love Marty McFly. I was Marty McFly like 2 times in a row for Halloween. I love Back to the Future. I love the idea of the 80s, and just, it's funny that the 80s were actually nostalgic for the 50s, and now us in the 2020s, we're nostalgic for the 80s. It's just like this constant cycle of being nostalgic for times that you have already gone through. And Back to the Future just takes Marty McFly and just drops him in the same town, but in the 50s, 30 years earlier, or 20 years, 30 years, roughly. It's great. I love it. 30 years, yeah. It's great. I love it. I think it's so vibey. It's fun. The music's fantastic with Power of Love. It's just a great, fun time. Like, you literally cannot go wrong with Back to the Future. Beautifully paced. You never, ever get upset. You never get mad. You never get bored. You never ask yourself, why am I watching this movie? Because it's Back to the Future. It's so cool. I love it. I love Back to the Future. It like, Back to the Future is probably my comfort movie. Out of all these movies, probably Back to the Future is my comfort movie. I can always go back and watch Back to the Future. Just have such a great time. I love Back to the Future. I will admit, like, the story is pretty, it's not, it doesn't revolutionize anything, and neither does Michael J. Fox's performance of Marty McFly. But that's what works so well, is that it just fits a formula, and it just is fun. It's just a fun movie. Such a great movie for the 80s, and I'm glad that it still has this pop culture relevance. With the time machine out of the DeLorean. Such a great movie. But now we come into the top 3. In the top 3, in the third ranking level, I am having a decision. I think my third favorite movie of all time is The Batman. 2020's The Batman with Robert Pattinson, directed by Matt Reeves. The cinematography and the sound for this movie is simply fantastic. I love the cinematography. I love the look of this movie. I love the feel of this movie. Robert Pattinson is my favorite Batman. In fact, I think I like him more than Kevin Conroy's. And RIP to Kevin Conroy, because I love him as Batman. He is the voice of Batman. 100%. He is the voice of Batman. I think Robert Pattinson is a better Batman and Bruce Wayne than Ben Affleck. I think he's a better Batman and Bruce Wayne than Christian Bale. I love the direction that they made Bruce Wayne B is just like this emo goth kid that's just upset all the time. I love this movie because there's so much Batman in it. There's so much, if you thought that the Dark Knight trilogy and BVS and the other things that Zack Snyder did, just not enough Batman, or if there was, then he's not really doing much. He's not doing much of a detective. He's mostly just fighting people and talking to people. This movie, it's just almost strictly Batman. Robert Pattinson is in the suit for like 80 to 85 to 95% of this movie. And I love it. Only like one or two scenes. He's actually Bruce Wayne, and his portrayal of Bruce Wayne is so mute. It's so diluted because he feels alive in the Batman costume. The whole idea with the Riddler, so cool. I love the backstory that this has for this whole movie, for this whole story, for this whole Gotham setup. I love the almost Gothic, and it's not Victorian, because I know that like rundown Victorian is basically Gothic. It's sort of, it's an aesthetic. But I love this like Gotham where it's not Chicago, It's not Chicago, and nor is it just a bunch of buildings. And it's raining all the time. And having this Gotham City and this story be based around Halloween, fantastic idea. I love the Batman, fantastic. I usually, if it's late at night, I either put on, Back to the Future is like, my comfort movie. But if it's late at night, I either put on Blade Runner or the Batman. And I just love showing people the Batman because a lot of people haven't seen it. Just like put on the Batman and they're immediately encapsulated. Holy cow, is that the Riddler? Is this like a serial killer? Is this a horror movie? Such good horror vibes too. Oh my goodness, I love the Batman. The one thing I will say is probably the pacing. It's probably the pacing. It's a long movie. It's like a 3-hour movie. But I love it. I wanted more of it. I want the sequel so badly. And I love Matt Reeves' direction. I love the art style. I love Batman's suit and the design of that. Oh my goodness, I just love the Batman so much. Number 2. This is probably going to come to a shock to a lot of people. And this, this one flips back and forth between number 2 and number 3 with the Batman. The Social Network. I love The Social Network. It's great. It's fantastic. I love Jesse Eisenberg's performance. I love Andrew Garfield's performance. I love all the characters. I love Justin Timberlake in this movie. Every single little bit of this movie is so well crafted and complete and put together. The direction of this movie is fantastic, seemingly because there's so many time jumps, somewhat, kind of jumping from deposition to the past to current time and things of that nature, everything jumping back and forth. It's been a while since I actually watched this movie. It's been like, a year, maybe 2. But every time I watch it, oh my goodness, I'm so encapsulated. I use that word so many times because all these movies encapsulate me. That's why I love them. But probably The Social Network draws me and brings me in, even from the very first scene with the conversation between Mark and his girlfriend. You don't even know the girlfriend's name, but you know who Mark Zuckerberg is. And this movie made everybody hate Mark Zuckerberg more than they probably already did. More than they probably already did. I love this movie, man. Jesse Eisenberg's performance of Mark Zuckerberg, so good, man. He seems like just a normal guy, right? Jesse Eisenberg is so good at just playing normal guys, and he's so maniacal. He fell from grace. What a fall from grace. It's almost like Wolf of Wall Street a little. But it's the beginning of Facebook and how they got to this point. And yet it's all backed by betrayal. And I love that. The whole story, you're being shown that Mark, maybe not being a good guy, but he's making the decisions that make Facebook what it is now. I compare this movie to Wolf of Wall Street because who cares about Jordan Belfort now? Who cares about Stratton Oakmont, the New York stock company that he made? But what people really do care about is Facebook. It's the biggest social media platform on the planet, at least in the United States. and you're shown this story about how it came about, and you find out, the audience finds out that it's actually all created by betrayal, by greed, by this kid, this guy, Mark Zuckerberg. He had to keep all of the shares for himself. He had to keep all the money for himself. He was a selfish little man, little guy. And the movie exemplifies that. I love this movie. So well acted, so well paced. Such a great movie. But that leads us into number one. My number one favorite movie of all time, probably never going to be toppled. I'm going to be honest. That's kind of hard to say. But yeah, it's probably never going to be toppled. Blade Runner 2049. Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford, Ana de Armas, Jared Leto, a couple other people. Great story. The best cinematography of all time. Roger Deakins went crazy on this movie. Denis Villeneuve, another film by this. I think he's Australian, honestly. He's a fantastic film director. He's the guy that's directing Dune. I love Blade Runner. There's nothing that I can say about Blade Runner that makes me love it more or makes me not like it as much as I do. The reason I say that is because I love this movie an exponentially amount. I don't even know that if that's the right phrase. I love this movie. I love this movie. It's so long, 2 hours and 45 minutes. Action's great. Cinematography, fantastic. Acting is fantastic. The story about this guy who is a Blade Runner and he kills his own kind, but he's an android himself, and he's trying to understand, am I special? Do I have a reason to go out of line? And when he finds out, in fact, he's not. He's fake. He's not a real person. Those emotions, those ideas that get planted into his head, these concepts, these thought processes, isn't that what makes you human? This is what this whole Blade Runner idea is. What makes you human? Is it your emotions? Is it the way you feel pain? Is it how you respond to things? Is it how you feel things? What makes you human? And Agent K, Ryan Gosling's character, goes through this massive journey going through all over Los Angeles. What was it? Yeah, it's 2049. Trying to understand who he is. And most at the end of these stories, you find out that he's actually the chosen one, or he is the greatest of all time, or he is what he thinks he is. This movie, spoiler alert, I guess I already spoiled it for you. He realized he's not anything. He's not anything special. He's not anything special to the world. He's not anything special to himself. This mystery that he went on, this adventure that he found himself in, he's nothing. But yet his need to understand who he is exactly what makes him special. That's exactly what makes him human. Is that this idea and this questioning of self is, who is he in this neon-drenched world, in this beautiful shot environment, always rainy, with these big sci-fi cars and big neon buildings and advertisements and projections and screens and his inability to love a computer. Understanding who he is what made him so important. He thought he was important and turned out he wasn't. I love it. I love the story of Blade Runner. What makes you human? What makes you human? If you really want to be challenged and think about a movie, that sounds so cinema major, film major kid. That's so funny. But if honestly, if you really want to be challenged, if you really want to think about who you are, and what you represent, go watch Blade Runner. If honestly, it makes me proud that I am human because I understand myself a little bit more, that like, it's okay if I have emotions. It's okay if I freak out. It's okay if I get upset. It's okay when everything is telling me I shouldn't be something, and then I am that thing. It's okay that I am, because I am human myself. I love Blade Runner. I love what the story exemplifies. I love what the story means. I love Ryan Gosling. I love Harrison Ford. And everything about is Rick Deckard a replicant? No, I'm going to say he's not, because I don't think it matters. Honestly, it doesn't matter. But my internal feeling is that. But it really does. It does matter. It's so hard. It's so hard. I love Blade Runner. I think it's great. It's fantastic. It's an awesome movie franchise. It's expanded to TV shows with the animated show, a couple short films, and a lot of comic lines. Fantastic franchise. Go watch Blade Runner. I love Blade Runner. I love all these movies. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, having fun with me, talking about movies and my top 10 favorite movies. Go and answer the question down below on the Q&A. I really appreciate it. Again, thank you guys for listening, and I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.